So anyone who's had any kind of dealings with me online or IRL knows that I have a list of standards that I have in how I want to be treated. I call them my rules, but I use that term very loosely. I actually don't like referring to them as my rules because I don't see them as rules myself. I actually everything on this list I do myself to the best of my ability. And saying rules kind of sounds a bit authoritarian, but I'm using that term as a very loose term, even though it makes me sound like a pompous, authoritarian prick. But these rules are things like when I'm talking to someone online, I like effort to be I like my effort to be reciprocated. So if I put thought into my messages, I'd like to get back more than just an emoji or a lol or a blunt, short 1 or 2 word reply in return. Um, I like people to come up with topic ideas. I don't want to always be thinking of the topic that we're having. If I send someone a message, one of my personal pet peeves is when I send someone a message and they respond, but they completely disregard that message and try and start a whole new conversation with me. I also don't like being kept waiting for a ridiculous amount of time. I don't mean when people are legitimately busy. Even I don't want to be online 24/7. But like when they are online but I only get like one message every couple of hours, I start to feel a little bit like it's a token gesture. They're not really talking to me because they want to, but because they feel they have to just sort of humour me by dropping me that one message every now and again. They send it and it's like, oh, thank fuck for that. I've sent that to him now. Now he can't complain for another couple of hours. Um, and also things like when I send people my creative works, I want like proper feedback. I don't want just like some short ass bland fucking thing because my creative works are important to me. They're very private things for me. So to share them and get such a short amount of feedback is quite upsetting for me, really. There are 3 reasons why I have these standards, these rules online. First of all, it's just a courtesy. It's just a nice way to behave around people. The second reason is they make conversations flow much more nicely. I actually don't like small talk. I like having conversations with people that can be deep. I like developing friendships online. Um, I like a back and forth. And it's very difficult to have that when the standards that I've listed are broken. And the third reason is I actually wouldn't mind meeting some of the people that I know online in real life. But how people behave online, I judge. I use the conversations we have online as a way to decipher what that person's going to be like in real life. Um, because I also have a list of standards for real life. I don't like being kept waiting a ridiculous amount of time, like I'm 10 o'clock, we're supposed to meet, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they still haven't shown up. I look on their phone, they're online, they're blatantly not busy, they're tweeting about how bored they are. I'm just sat there like a fucking twat in the freezing cold, the pissing rain, or the boiling heat. I also don't like people who find out they can't make a meetup because something else has come up 3 days in advance, but they don't tell you till the day you're fucking there. Or meetups with people where they invite a third person along and you're just sat there watching 2 other people have a day out together. Or people who cancel your on the one day you have to meet them to go and see someone they can meet any other day. Or people who are unable to message you when they're with other people. They're unable to text you, but they're always on their phones when you're with them. And I also like people to make plans with me instead of leaving me to come up with plans of what we're going to be doing. Um, I always seem to be the organizer when it comes to meeting up with people. The only input they have is usually the venue because of course they want it to be in their hometown. So I've always got to go and see them. These rules, I think it comes from the fact that I've been in a lot of friendships before where I've felt as though I had to constantly bend over backwards to show the other person loyalty and devotion, whereas all they had to offer me were promises of loyalty and devotion and the occasional token gesture, the occasional nice thing which they did just to keep me on side. And what really gets me about those kinds of friendships, as an added bonus, is when I completely bend over backwards, even compromise myself to show them loyalty, and they still deny it. They still deny that I'm loyal to them. And I don't mean skepticism. If someone's had trust issues in the past, I fully understand if they don't take me on my word immediately, if they don't take me on face value. I'm talking about when they flat out fucking deny that you've ever done anything nice for them. And even worse, when they give praise to someone who did nothing for them. That pisses me off. There's a fine line between not thanking someone for doing something and flat out denying that they ever did it. And I hate it as well when I'm allowed to be completely doubted over my actions, yet I'm not allowed to even be the slightest bit sceptical of their words or their empty promises, even though I've got trust issues, and even when they have given me reason to be sceptical of them. And of course, when I have trust issues myself. I've also been in a lot of friendships where I'm a tough nut to crack. I don't open very easily. But when I do, I'm very vocal on how much I care about someone. I'm very demonstrative in my affections. And I do get the impression that a lot of my friendships in the past, the other person's thought, right, he's blatantly devoted and loyal to me. I don't have to try anymore. He's loyal enough for both of us. And so in these types of friendships, the only time I'm ever sort of given the effort that I should really be getting all the time, because I always show them effort. The only time I get that effort is when they think they've lost me because they think they've lost me as a friend because I take a few days out or something away from them, or in an argument, or when they think they've lost me, or they'll suddenly be bending over backwards. They'll be sending me fuck tons of replies online, big messages, responding fast. And then I tell them, I'm not angry at you, or I'm not going anywhere. I was just taking a few days away, but to be by myself. They suddenly go back to how they were. And I've been in a lot of friendships like this before, so I'm desperate not to go back to that again. And that's why I think I have these standards. Now, they're going to get broken from time to time. Sometimes with people, it's not a case of they won't do something. It's that they can't do it. And sometimes people get forgetful as well. I coughed earlier, so my throat's a bit groggy. Maybe I've got a cold coming on. But unfortunately, sometimes there is no difference between won't and can't. The end result is the same. And I will always give people a chance. I'll always say to people, listen, do you think you could, reply to that message I sent earlier? Do you think you could, put some thought into your replies? Do you think you could maybe come up with a plan for what we're going to be doing when we meet next week? Do you think we could have a meet up where it's just us and not that other person that you can meet any other time? If you find out that you've got a plan that contradicts our plan, overrides our plan tomorrow, do you think you could tell me the night before and not wait until I'm actually on the train to see you? And I tell people, and sometimes they do it. Sometimes they do it for a while and then they go back to how they were. Sometimes they just carry on doing it. And the end result is I go into what I call my withdrawal from this. And it's not something I choose to do, it's something that happens naturally. So, a few examples like I send someone a message and then they send a message back that's nothing to do with what I said. So I ask them to go back and reply to that. They go and do it. Happens again later, same results, same events. Then the next day, It keeps happening over and over again. I keep saying, "Could you go back and reply?" Eventually, what happens is I get bored of doing that. And one day they change the subject. They send me a message that completely ignores what I said earlier. I tell them a big secret about me because I feel I trust them, and they ignore it and send some shit. And instead of saying, "Could you just address that message?" I'm just like, fuck it. I'm not going to bother. I'm going to just reply to whatever they've sent me. But I'm not going to put any effort in because I know that if I get invested in this chat, in this conversation, it's only going to be annoying when they change the subject again later. It's my withdrawal stage. Or someone is forever, cancelling meetups to go and do something they could do any other time, and not telling me till it's too late. I asked them if they could, give me a bit more notice next time, and if a few occasions later, I just get bored, and whenever they make plans with me, I don't accept it as confirmed until we're actually there and it's happening. Or someone replies to a well thought out message online with an emoji, I just send an emoji back. Or I send someone my creative works, they don't put any effort into their feedback, or they give me the impression they haven't even bothered to open it and they're just saying they have. I just stop sending. I'm just stop sending them my stuff, my personal stuff. And it's a real shame when that happens because, you drift apart, but there's no definitive end. You just sort of fall apart. And it may sound pedantic, these little gestures that mean so much to me, but they really do. It's just how I know that someone wants to talk, considers me that worthy of just that little bit of respect. Sometimes I feel it's deliberate. There have been times where I've looked and thought, I've seen the signs and thought, no, this is personal. They're doing this to annoy me now. They don't treat other people this way, or they'll do this thing where they'll break some of my rules. I hate that term. And then I'll show them that it's not annoying me, even though it is. They'll start breaking other ones, almost like they're trying to turn the dial. Sometimes it's deliberate. Sometimes it's just a case of, mistake. It's a mistake. They can't help it. They forgot. We all forget. And sometimes they, in the case of things like having to wait too long for messages or something, providing they genuinely are busy, it's a case that they can't help it. But the end result is I don't get what I want out of these interactions, which is quite sad. I don't see that if there's any problem. I don't think I'm being unreasonable here. I'm certainly being pedantic. I'm certainly being maybe overthinking a little bit, but I don't think I'm asking for the world. And I just don't want to lose touch with any more people. I don't want to eventually just start associating people with... I hate it when I start to associate people with stress. I know them now as the person that's difficult to track down, and I just give up. That's quite sad for me. This is a video I've been planning in my head for about a year now, and I've made some allusions to this topic in other videos, and last month I actually did make the video that I wanted to make. But then I took it down because I wasn't really happy with the editing. Plus, I also used an example in there, and it was a very specific example from a few years ago that the person it was about would definitely have known I was talking about them. And you know how people are like, you post a video about a topic, you end up with a bunch of people thinking it's exclusively about them, when it wasn't. I just couldn't be bothered with that drama. Tried to make one earlier, over 20 minutes I recorded, and it was just terrible, so I deleted it. I was tired, and I still am, but for some reason this one feels like it's gone slightly better, so I'll post this one. And knowing my luck, I'll probably realise I've forgotten to include a few things, or I'll realise how shit it is. I know it's shit anyway, and then I'll take it down and probably do another one later on. But in the meantime, this is the video.